morning and welcome virtually to Mount Cross this morning. Sorry to have a little bit of a late start today. I apologize for that, but I'm glad to be here now. And this Sunday, we're talking about some ways that we widen the welcome and how in the book of Acts, there are so many stories about how God's Holy Spirit is bringing more and more people into the church. Last Sunday, Brian Watson preached about the way that Paul, a violent and murderous Pharisee, was brought into the church and then became an incredible early leader. And this Sunday, we're going to hear a story about how one of the disciples gets whisked off by the Holy Spirit and sent to meet with a person that he doesn't even know about beforehand, talks to him about Christ. And then that person is brought into the church. And then he goes back to his home country and spreads the good news of Jesus Christ. So the book of Acts in so many ways is about the ways that God just keeps opening the door, making a bigger space and welcoming in people to understand and start living this beautiful, free, and loving life with Jesus Christ. So in that vein, I'd like to read two passages today that are from letters written by Paul, that murderous Pharisee who had a dramatic conversion experience, and the ways that over time he changed his worldview. And I'm fascinated by this, and I hope that you are as well. First is Galatians chapter 4, verses 3 through 7. While we were minors, we were enslaved to the elemental spirits of the world. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, in order to redeem those who were under the law, so that we might receive sonship. And because you are his sons, God has sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, crying, Abba, Father. So you are no longer a slave, but a son. And if a son, then also an heir through God. This word son is very clear in the Greek. It's chiu, and it is son, male, sons, daughters. And sonship also has that same root word. But later, Paul writes this letter to the Romans. And this is Romans chapter 8, verses 14 through 17. All of you who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received a spirit of sonship. When we cry, Abba, Father, it is that very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ. So this man who has grown up a Pharisee in a culture where women are not even allowed in the temple, women are not allowed to approach the places of God even, much less God's self, has changed not all of his language in this letter, but some of it. We bear witness in our spirit that we are children, tekna, of God. And if children, again, tekna, then heirs, heirs of God and co-heirs with Christ. One of the features, I think, of our world and our worldviews today is that we are not open to the possibility that we might have a wrong idea about something. And maybe that's cultural, maybe it's systemic. This is the way we've always done it, or this is the way we're told we have to do it in order to stay within the system or stay safe or be part of our cultural circles. But Paul shows an evolving way. One of my favorite quotes in the world is a Maya Angelou quote. And she says, I did the best I can, I did the best I could, but when I learned better, I did better. And I think that's what Paul is showing us in these letters. And these letters parallel this time of Acts that we're studying this summer, because Paul was a living, breathing, real life human being. And we have his writings to kind of help us see his development as a person of faith. And just because he was an incredible leader of the faith doesn't mean he wasn't still learning new things about God, new things about humanity, new things about God's relationship with us, and new things about himself too. What he could do and be, what he could think. So I hope that you will take the cue from Paul, and I hope that I will too, that we remain curious, that we remain open to ideas and not be afraid to hear something that maybe we think is totally wrong. And it's okay if it's still wrong once we've been curious about it. But that we should never be afraid to hear something that confronts us. We should never be afraid to consider the possibility of changing our minds about another person or about an idea or about a system. Just like Paul learned to open his worldview and system to women. And thank God, I'm very grateful to be a leader in the church. Thank you so much for coming on this adventure with me today, and I will see you Sunday. Have a wonderful week.